Welcome to the AACFB's 2026 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I will be your host. Our presenters today are Colleen Spizzuco and Danielle Ravelli from United Capital Source. United Capital Source is both a funding source member and a platinum sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support of the association. Before I introduce the United Capital team, I'd like to go over a few items to make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that allows you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions in the box, and they should be answered by the end of the webinar. The entire webinar should take no more than 30 to 45 minutes. And for those of you who'd like to review it at a later date, it will be posted on the 2026 Meet the Funder page of the website, and it will be emailed out to the AACFB membership. At this time, I will turn it over to the United Capital Source team. It is all yours.
Hi, Monica. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We were just at the conference back in March, and it was great. We had a lot of turnout, thought it was success, very educational. We walked away with a ton of business and a new connects, and we appreciate the opportunity to join. Here at United Capital Source, we basically combine embedded finance technology with direct lending. We have the ability of integrating directly into someone's process to show pre-qualified funding options in real time. We also recently started lending off of our own balance sheet, which offers us the opportunity of stepping in when others can't. That basically means that for anybody that signs up with us, faster approvals, more product flexibility and options, and the ability really of working with a lender that can originate and fund deals. We put together a product guide here that outlines all program options, which we could bring up and go through.
Yeah, let me bring that up real quick. Okay. So beginning with our term loans. So we're able to go up to 10 years on these. For all of our products, we require for our partners referring deals in, we require at least 25,000 monthly revenue and at least a year in business. Other than that, we have a lot of flexibility between industries and credit. So you'll see here term loans up to 10 years, pretty unique. We can do daily, weekly, monthly. We can go up to 10 million. SBAs, 10 to 25 years on those, pretty standard. 10 million, at least 5 years in business. For our lines of credit, starting at 1% a month, credit score at least 575. We can go up to 1 million, as little as 1K. And you'll also see here on our product guide that we can, do at least 1 to 3 days for the timeline there. Equipment financing, we can also go up to 10 years, and we can go up to 10 million per piece as well. Credit score is a little bit lower requirement on these as well. 475. We can start at 6.5% as well. For MCAs, a little more lenient here. We can go up to 5 million, 475 credit. And then for these, we can do daily, weekly, or biweekly. For accounts receivable, our minimum's a little bit higher here with 250 up to 25 million. Starting at 1% a month, daily, weekly, monthly, up to 24 months. So that's a little overview of our products. We also offer HELOCs as well as commercial real estate. So basically for all of our funding partners, what we offer is a pre-qualification tool. What you're able to do is log into your portal that you get access to when you sign up with us to be a member. Basically, what that gives you is a sheet where you're able to input information about your file, that being monthly revenue, credit, any assets owned, information like that. And what it'll do is in turn give you estimated approvals based on that information. So what I'm going to do is pull that up now. 1 second.
We obviously are like a one-stop shop, right? The idea is that every deal has a home, whether it be short-term working capital, if they need additional capital for equipment, inventory, if they own the real estate, we have the ability of facilitating any sort of financing for them.
Yep. So here is our pre-qualification tool. This will be available to you in your portal. Once you sign up with us, I'll give you your login. And I'm just going to run a quick demo on this to kind of show you how it works. So, we're filling out business name, industry. We'll go through time and business, estimated credit, and the amount that they're asking, average monthly revenue, deposit trend, whether that's consistent and growing or if it's declining. And then here you can see all of the products that this person would qualify for. So you can see that they qualify for an MCA, term loan, line of credit, equipment financing, real estate, SBA, and it'll give you those exact amounts that you're gonna see in that range. It's super cool. We found it to be very accurate, and it's a good tool for success if so you can talk to your clients about realistically what could be possible for them.
We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Wonderful. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A box at this time, and we'll get them answered for you. We'll give it just a minute. Can we use our own application, or do you require it on yours? Do you require banks, and how many months?
Yep. So you can use your own application. We have our own as well. But as long as you have all the information on your application that we do, we have no problem with you submitting with your own application. For submissions, for most files, we're going to require at least 4 months of the most recent business bank statements. Obviously, if it's a SBA file or real estate, we'll need a little bit more documentation than that. But typical files, your typical term loan, line of credit, 4 months banks, completed app.
I would say also if a business is somewhat seasonal, for instance, if it's landscaping company going into the winter, if they don't necessarily pivot, we always try to get a few more months so we could forecast ahead of time. But that would just be case by case.
What do they need to become a broker signed up with you guys?
They need to reach out to Colleen directly.
Yep. Yep, we can schedule a call. I'll walk you through the process, see if you're a good fit.
Perfect. Do you have a direct line you want to give them? Or
Yeah.
email
Could I
them?
type that in the chat? Does that work? Or is there?
Yes.
Should be
Okay.
As
I'm
far
gonna
as
try to figure
credit
this out.
profile, to answer Todd Siegel's question, I wouldn't necessarily say that we require a certain amount of trade lines. Obviously, the more trade lines, the better. Sometimes no credit is better than worse credit, right? When it does apply to equipment, credit is looked at a little more than any sort of working capital programs, just because terms tend to be extended longer.
Okay.
So I would say case by case basis, depending on the credit, always makes sense to call in ahead of time to go over the scenario first.
And do you have any equipment restrictions?
As far as the equipment itself, case by case, it depends on industry type, right? I would say we've had a little, not necessarily restrictions, but people less apprehensive to funding certain types of equipment, such as laser machines and aesthetics technology. But for the most part, we could fund all equipment.
Jameson wants you to elaborate on the equipment finance programs just a tad on the types of collateral, industries that are approved, and you just mentioned that you're restricted.
Elaborating on equipment, I would say pretty much across the board, we have the ability of financing equipment. Of course, depending on the type of equipment, for instance, if it's trucks, The age of the truck, right? The year, make, model always comes into play as far as resell and pricing, right? So case by case basis, we always ask for an invoice or a screenshot or quote, so we can have that accurate information. We also tell clients that if a piece of equipment that they are submitting doesn't necessarily meet our requirements or have the great chance of getting pre-approved, we could get them pre-approved up to a certain dollar amount using that initial quote as an example, and then they could go ahead and do their research, finding another piece of equipment through a new dealer or owner.
Right. Do you do seasonal payments for agricultural, or are there any age restrictions on the equipment?
We can offer financing to agricultural companies. We don't necessarily set the payments up seasonally. I would say what I have found that those companies tend to lean more towards term loan options that are on a monthly payment and give them a little more of a grace period. Also stretch that payment out a lot longer to make it a bit more manageable for them.
Will you do startup programs?
We do not offer startup capital per se. If a merchant is in the startup phase, if they don't, qualify for an SBA 7A as far as startup capital for acquisition or something, we can try other outlets such as a HELOC if they own a home. But as far as any sort of like revenue-based capital or working capital, we do require a minimum of 3 to 4 months in business.
What is your minimum amount to finance?
Our minimum amount to finance?
Yeah.
We require a minimum of $7,000 to $10,000 when it comes to working capital.
Okay. And does that apply for equipment loans?
As far as equipment, generally, I see 15,000 and up.
Okay. What is your turnaround time from application to approval, doc process time frame? What do you typically require to do docs? And this is more for equipment financing, which is what this person does as opposed to SBA.
Sure, great question. I would say that it does depend, of course, on the piece of equipment, but we generally require an application, a invoice, as well as business bank statements for pre-qual. Once we get the pre-approval, which generally is within, I would say, 24, at most 48 hours, we would present that if it makes sense. We request, of course, signed agreement as well as a final invoice. If there's any title involved, it could take an extra day or two. And of course, things pop up. But I would say on average from start to finish, 3 business days for equipment, 3 to 4 business days.
Okay. And do you do leases as well, especially in places like California and Florida, as opposed to EFAs, et cetera?
We don't really deal much with leases, more so just financing.
Gotcha. Minimum time in business for yellow iron financing.
Personally, not so familiar with yellow iron financing, but I would say that we would require a minimum, once again, of at least 3 to 4 months.
Okay. Do you require a vendor pre-fund form or anything else to approve a vendor for pre-funding?
It depends on the approval. Once again, if title is required, right, there's certain documentations that are required. If we can verify the vendor, I don't see why we would need that. But if for whatever reason we can't, if it's a private sell, we may.
He's saying non-titled. I don't know if it changes.
As long as it's verifiable on our end, then I would say no.
Okay. Do you work directly with clients? How do you work with broker when it comes to return business from one of their clients?
Sure, great question once again. Generally, once the file is submitted to Colleen, we ask her to set up a 3-way call between the broker, the client, and the rep that the deal is assigned to. We always do our best to respect our relationship with the broker first, in the sense of if you are looking to, communicate only with the client and have customer control, that is okay, as long as the communication is kept with us. If deals go stale where we're not hearing back, at that point, we would, take it upon ourselves to reach out to the client if there is an offer on the table. But that is only in the event if there is absolutely no communication. But if it is suggested that we run with the client and take direct communication, we're happy to do so as well.
And I think that also pertains to, like, if you already have funded something for a client and it's been, a year or two and they're coming back for more funding, would you then loop the broker back in at that point?
Correct. We honor the relationship. It is in our broker agreement, second time around, even when it comes to renewals, there's less work done on the deal, right? So depending on the scenario, sometimes commissions are slightly adjusted. They don't pay exactly the same as the first deal, though we always honor the relationship. If the client reaches out to us directly, we will then reach out to the broker to give them a heads up that the client has reached out and is interested in additional capital.
Great. Will you do food trucks?
Yes.
Right. Do you finance cannabis or other typically restricted industries?
We do, but let's keep in mind that it has to be in states that are, regulated, right? We require business bank statements. So the cannabis company has to have a open business bank account that they can submit.
Great.
We also fund equipment for cannabis.
Yeah, I think some of what I've heard from other funders is that if it's a piece of equipment that can be used in other industries,
Correct.
then it's more likely to get done. If they have to take that equipment back, they can use it in some other industry.
Correct. Lighting, sometimes the tanks, right? Like whatever's needed, like it could be, if could be used for another type of industry or work as well. It's a little more flexible to get around.
Mm-hmm. What about OTR drivers? Are you looking for fleet? How minimum time business for that?
So with trucking across the board, I think that there's been, with every lender, some restrictions, especially in Chicago, that area. For some reason, there's been a lot of defaults, not just that we're seeing, but across the board. So depending on the deal, right, the request amount, sometimes they want to see a minimum of 3 trucks. They want to see that the business has been operational for certain pricing, at least 2 to 3 years. Can we get them done if they've been open for less? Absolutely. Is it going to be more high risk? Yes.
I'll give it just a minute in case there's any other questions. And if not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So for anybody who's listening, if you want to get a hold of Colleen, it's 646-448-1711 or Colleen S at goucs.com. Let me see, I think we have one more question. Many lenders restrict anything that floats or flies. Will you do aircraft? Also, will you work with vendors that are outside the US, especially Canada?
We have gotten some aircraft deals done. We've also recently been doing some boating. So I agree that it was restricted for a really long time. But the industry as a whole is growing and expanding, and we've been seeing more scenarios that are a little more out of the box getting done.
Is that U.S. only or outside the U.S.?
Within the U.S. I apologize.
Okay. I think we might have covered this a little bit, but any industries that you won't touch?
I I wouldn't say we wouldn't touch an industry. It depends, time in business, revenues, everything comes into play. There's always exceptions to the rules. Even lawyers, they get done. They're not the most preferred. Options are limited. But I'd say across the board, every industry is worth asking about.
Do you have a sweet spot, like with something in particular? We do some what's hot, what's not
Sure.
sessions, and so if you had your preference, what would you do all day long? Like,
Businesses that are bringing in a lot of receivables are always the easiest to get done, especially if they're looking for working capital. Retail, restaurants, any sort of medical, right? It's across the board. If they're bringing in a lot of deposits, if they're bringing in consistent revenue, if they've been open, we want to speak to them. We want to give them more money. We want to keep, help them grow.
great. Roger's asking about turnaround for a file to be approved and commission points paid on average to brokers.
Sure. I'd say it depends on the deal, right? For instance, a line of credit and an SBA is going to pay a lot less than an equipment deal or any sort of short-term working capital. On average, an SBA or a line of credit is going to pay 1 to 2, whereas working capital and equipment is going to probably pay closer to 5, if not more. As far as turnaround time with payment, we pay out on Thursdays, but deals do need to be reconciled. So if a deal funds on Wednesday, it's not going to be paid out, same week. You can expect that the following week.
Gotcha.
And I'll add, as soon as we fund a file, I'm able to tell you exactly how much you're getting and when you can expect that payment as well.
Todd's saying he's having an issue getting a deal done for a custom built sign for about $25,000, good credit, many years time in business. Is this an issue? Is that something like you?
Well, I see here that this already sent it to Colleen. Is this a deal that we've already reviewed, Todd, or you just sent it? Doesn't sound like it would be a scenario where we have an issue. I would say if they have existing balances in place, if the banks aren't necessarily in good shape, if they're showing lots of negative days, things like that could come into play. But if they have solid banks, good credit, strong time in business, $25K sounds like a perfect deal. I'd say the only question there would be.
He's saying he hasn't submitted it yet, but he's
Okay.
going to send an email to Colleen about it.
Yeah, I would say let's just set up a call and we could talk about, expectations of what the client's really looking for. I would say that would be the only thing that comes into play of, is that a problematic? They're not looking for anything less than prime, then we could probably make something work.
All right. And I'm going to send him your phone number, Colleen. So expecting a call soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I am not seeing any other questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Big thanks to all our participants, especially our valued funding source member and platinum sponsor, United Capital Source. Thanks for a great job, Colleen and Danielle. We invite everyone to meet with them in person at the Commercial Financing Expo coming up this October 21st through the 23rd in Irvine, California. Thanks again and have a great day.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.